All right, so thank you all so much for being here. We are recording this meeting, and I also want to just let everyone know, it'd be great if you could keep your microphones on mute unless we're having a discussion. So yeah, we are so excited to have Cat and Heather here with us today to talk about training service dogs for dysautonomia. Before I introduce Cat and Heather, I just want to briefly introduce LADN to anyone who is unfamiliar with our organization. So we are the Los Angeles Dysautonomia Network, LADN, and we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We support dysautonomia patients and caregivers in LA and Greater California through community, education, and financial support. So we offer support groups for patients, teen patients, and caregivers so we can all come together and face the complexities of dysautonomia in a safe communal space. Our teen group is pretty new and we are trying to spread the word. So if you happen to know of any teens, I hope you will pass along our information. Our next group is actually tomorrow afternoon and it's led by a wonderful psychologist, Dr. Samantha Levy. We also bring community together through a peer networking program, through social events, and we also have our education program that you all are joining for here. So we do provide, we do workshops and we also provide educational resources on topics useful to the dysautonomia experience. And we offer healthcare access grants to help low-income patients afford vital healthcare. This is a program which accepts applicants every fall. And lastly, I just wanted to share that we have our big Unity and Community annual fundraiser coming up on Sunday, June 1st from 12 to 3 p.m. in Pasadena. It's a free event to attend and it should be really fun. It's a family-friendly event, raises awareness about dysautonomia while celebrating our community. Also, if you can't join us in person, you can still support LADN and the dysautonomia community by bidding in our virtual auction, which is live now. I will put that link in the chat and you can also go to, okay. You can go to our website to find the link to it there as well. So we have lots of amazing donated items, including like some hotels in Hawaii, Dodgers tickets with a visit to the announcer's booth with Joe Davis, got jewelry, self-care experiences, and lots of healthy goodies too. So without further ado, I want to introduce Cat Gentile and Heather Mickelson. So Cat has helped people around the world for 11 years by training dogs to assist with all different symptoms, ranging from scent training for rising heart rate, or even retrieving water from the fridge on those days when we find ourselves unable to get out of bed. Service dogs have not only helped Cat in her personal life through years of medical journeys, but has also helped her find a true sense of independence. Heather has been training dogs for over 20 years, and over the course of those years, she has been able to formulate a behavior-based training approach focused on building balanced relationships centered around a healthy and happy lifestyle. The two trainers met while working on a TV show for Nat Geo and are now working together and have service work and behaviorist specialties. They bring their understanding of POTS and chronic health issues to their work as lifestyle-based trainers, creating individualized training plans for every person they work with to make training accessible. We are so very happy to have them with us today to share their knowledge. Thank you both for being here, and I will pass it on over to you.
Okay, thank you, Sally. Where to start? So yeah, like she said, I mean, service dogs have really changed my life to a point of having a caretaker all the time, going out with a person and always trying to be around someone else's schedule. Not ideal for anyone. Constantly having to like get wheelchairs and things out in public, just it's minimized my amount of needing and depending on those things, to have a dog to prevent my flares rather than someone have to take care of me through them, especially with the scent training. So yeah, there are dogs present, I think. That's great because there are actually some questions that were submitted that we might say, and if you're here today, we might need some like kind of feedback a little bit so we can, accurately answer your questions for some of them. Because service dog training, whether for dysautonomia, anxiety, most people seem to really have both. It's not the best or quality of life to be living with a chronic illness or a bunch of chronic illnesses and trying to navigate the world on your own. So yeah, a lot of people are going into owner training, which is really great that we have the opportunity to do that. But I do want to state before anything else that there is no official certification for a service dog in the US under the ADA. So any of those certificates you see online that says pay $100, we'll send you a vest and all of these things. Great, now you have a vest and a piece of paper that is pretty meaningless. So those things does not make your dog a service dog. Your service dog does need to be able to do tasks that help with either symptoms of chronic illness or something that is debilitating that you need for your everyday life, whether that's in home or out in public. Most people use them for both. They definitely don't really have a differentiating of I'm working in public. It is a lot more serious and the mannerisms are going to be different, especially putting them on a leash and having a vest on. But when we do training and socializing at a young age, we do it without a vest first, just so the dog never makes the whole I'm putting a vest on, that means I'm going to work thing. You kind of want your dog to always be keeping you safe, which could happen just as easily by going up the steps in your home if you have dysautonomia or doing your own laundry. So yes, long-winded way of saying my first service dog I got just because I wanted a dog. I was a cat person and that changed everything. She was my emotional support cat. And I was like, yeah, this isn't cutting it. I need to go out into the world. That'd be great. I never expected to train him for anything further than response and alerting to cortisol, anything anxiety related interruptions with anxious tics, until I started getting diagnosis after diagnosis, eventually leading to 2 dysautonomia diagnoses. And I just took the training further and then started doing public work. People would run into me at places like Disney World, which is where I primarily did my training. And I built clients from there and ended up changing that to be my everyday and helping other people through training their service dogs and helping them train their service dogs if they'd like to owner train. It's a little bit about just myself and Heather. Hi.
Hey. I was aware of service dogs because like Sally mentioned, I've been training dogs for over 20 years. But I really didn't have a true understanding of service dogs and the immense help, and like Kat just said, the way that they can completely change someone's life, until I met Kat and got to meet Fresno and see what he does, and then also start working with her and helping other people with their service dogs. And it really did, this is going to sound really cliche, but it really did change my life, even though I had been working with dogs for 20 years and I know how amazing they are and the incredible unconditional love and all the amazing things that they bring to our lives. And then I saw even more. I didn't just see it, I felt it. And it was and is profound. Gave me even more appreciation for dogs in general. And then getting to work with Kat and collaborate, it was really cool because we both learned from each other in different ways and saw that, hey, there might be a need to help people create even more balance in the dog side of their service dog. Seeing some kind of maybe little holes that might be missing in the training process of service dogs. And so it's really been an honor. I want to mention, if you guys hear the cutest little chirping and singing and noises, we have behind us 3 little baby chicks. And they are amazing and so sweet, and they're just speaking away. So they're here with us as well. They're not service chicks yet, but you never know.
That was a joke. Okay, guys, that was a joke.
Yes, thank you. Sarcasm is part of my love language. But anyways, if you were hearing something really loud, that's what it is. So thanks everyone for being here. I'm bummed that I'm going to be in Michigan for the fundraiser. Otherwise I would be there. Sally, send me something in an email if there's a way that I can buy, if there's auction stuff or whatever, if I can bid or put something when I'm if I can't be there. My nephew's graduating high school, actually on June 1st. But I'd love to be able to.
Oh, thank you, Heather. I appreciate that. I also want to say that the chicks, I think I can hear a tiny bit of the background, but it's not at all distracting. It's totally fine.
It's actually really soothing. They're so sweet.
They are, they're perfect. So going into kind of, I mean, you mentioned, you know, there is training, of course, like I was saying, a service dog doesn't mean they're wearing a vest or it's a piece of paper. It is the training. That being said, a lot of people skip over that part and just throw the vest on. And as much as you're impatient to get out into the world and see what it's like to have a dog who works for you, you can't expect them to do something for you until you're fulfilling them completely and fully as first being an animal that's a dog. You know, to have to understand them, give them that time and space to be a dog. If your dog is excessively barking, does that mean it can't be a service dog? I mean, no, it's just something to work on, but a lot of people will still bring the dog in public, become a disruption, cause chaos if they get kicked out. But under the ADA, it does say if the dog is a public disturbance, not just one bark, you're thrown out. Oh no, they're not robots. They will make mistakes, especially during training. But when she came into, okay, well, here is behavioral stuff, but also what a lot of people don't realize with a service dog, when they're detecting our stress, responding, alerting to it constantly, it's very easy for that dog to take the stress on. And something I've really learned a lot from Heather is that not just as humans should we go like get massages, do things that are rejuvenating and restorative, but dogs need just as much of that. We kind of have to show them how. There are a lot of dogs who, yeah, maybe that's naturally who they are and how they are. But when a lot of people start bringing their service dog and training out into public, they skip over all the signs and signals that the dog might be a bit weary of something, which then eventually turns into retiring your dog early. So learning a lot about conditioned relaxation from Heather has helped a lot with getting dogs through fear periods. And just if you're training a pet dog in general, that's important. But it has definitely changed the way that I will always train a service dog now, is I'll never go without that being a core foundation. I'll let her talk about mostly what those core foundations are with being a behaviorist solely, and then how we saw it in that goes like that with a service dog. So me doing what I do with the task work, with taking their behaviors that are unwanted that she would, you know, be working on, I would find a way for that dog to go do it somewhere else. They're a jumpy dog, I'll teach them how to jump rope. They want to constantly like run or do something, I get creative, let's teach them to ride a skateboard, mental, physical. And then the behavior side of it, you couldn't get to those things, the fun stuff, really, until you have those core foundations done with training. And even going into task work, like I said, you don't want to ask them to do something until you've fulfilled them, which would make sure that they feel good about what they're doing, not just kind of put them in a vest, take them out, say, let's go. First day on the job, let's just do it. No, got to start in the home. Take it away.
Yeah. So dogs need to be fulfilled just like humans do, like Kat was saying, and they need to be fulfilled physically, mentally, and spiritually. So service work for a dog that has the capacity to perform that job is fulfilling 100%. But if we just work all the time and that's all we do as humans, we are not going to be balanced or fulfilled, right? There's other aspects of our lives that we need to participate in besides just work. And a lot of people question, or not question, they're like, fulfill my dog spiritually? Like, what does that mean? Take them to church? I'm like, no. What it means is fulfill their spirit, who they are. They're not a human in a fursuit. They are a animal first, and then they are a species, which is a dog. And there's certain things that dog needs, well, that an animal needs, but then that a dog needs to be completely balanced. And that's how you fulfill their spirit. And then emotionally, it's also like what Kat was saying, recognizing how emotions play a part in their world in all different aspects. So the emotions that we are passing on, energy is a form of communication for everything in the world. And definitely animals communicate through energy. They have verbal language, but they don't have our verbal language, but we all can send and receive energy, and we're doing it even when we don't realize it. And so it's about what emotional energy are we passing on to our dogs? what are they feeling, and what do those emotions mean, and how does that translate to the energy, and then how does that then project through their body language, and also what emotions are they bringing in from the world. Like, what we need to be really mindful and honest with what we are subjecting our dogs to, or what environments that we're putting them in, because all of that plays a big part in fulfillment, and also in the stress level and the capacity that they have to not just do a job, but to actually just be in the world. So these are concepts that I use in this is part of my training philosophy. And when I was talking to Kat, she was like, I actually kind of do that too. Like, you know, I consider those things too. Let's figure out how to collaborate and bring all of that, really, that balance and that clear understanding into the service dog world, like she said, so that we can have dogs that can perform their service because it is fulfilling to them, that might be able to perform their service a little bit longer. And when they are retired, that they can still have a really good life, that they're not like this stress ball. That once they're retired, they get to just be a dog and an animal and are still being fulfilled, but aren't filled with cortisol because of everything that's been dumped on them over the years.
Yes. Okay, so let's go into a couple of things from that. So there's a lot, basically. So we're gonna get into like the actual training of a service dog for someone with dysautonomia of any type. I've worked with people who have several types, one type, some more severe than the others, some who pass out, some who don't. I will say that your dog does not have to be scent trained to be considered a service dog. That was one of the major questions, or rephrased type of questions, was, does my dog need to be scent trained? No. Just as much as the dog does not need a certification that you buy online, your dog does not need to be scent trained. However, a lot of dogs will start, if they're a response dog, they will start noticing those things before you pass out, which sometimes leads to them noticing the smell and the changes of the secreted hormones in your saliva. So then you inadvertently teach your dog how to be scent trained, which is a great thing, but sometimes people aren't looking for that, but the dog will pick it up naturally by making the association with, I smell this every time my owner's gonna pass out. Then it just starts, you shape that to the earlier and sooner, and then before you pass out. So you can get somewhere safe. We don't want anyone falling on their faces. So you can just, you know, leave a store or something like that, especially with a lot of people going into pre-syncope, we start to lose our vision and hearing, which is kind of scary, especially if you're even with someone. So I've taught my dog to both follow the person I'm with if they're going to lead the dog and I to an exit. But then if I'm alone, the dog will just lead me somewhere that I could just sit down and then go into the response portion of it, of giving deep pressure therapy. Which reverses, you get the serotonin and dopamine, which reverses that secretion of cortisol, just the dog having pressure on you. So when you see a person who has a service dog sitting in the corner of a store and it's on their lap, they're not cuddling. I mean, it's nice. It does look like they're cuddling, and maybe they do have their arms wrapped around the dog. I find that like very stimulating with just sensory stuff when I'm coming out of an episode, especially just to touch things. And if my dog is there, I'll mess with his vest or touch him. He'll lick my hands. Like there are very distinct ways of him to tell me I'm either gonna pass out, blood sugar, whatever it is, if it's blood pressure, all different things that he does in ways of telling me, and then what he'll do to respond to those things. So a lot of people also ask, how long does the training typically take, and what they're typically ready by age-wise. So that depends on your focus. A lot of people, like I said, don't need a scent trained dog or a mobility dog. Usually with dysautonomia, it's good to have at least some mobility tasks in there in the case that you did go into pre-syncope, you did need to be guided out of a store, counterbalance, momentum pull, getting water from the fridge, closing the bedroom door, all of those things considered mobility. Even just simple retrieval from not having to bend down is considered mobility, helping with laundry, things like that, finding help, all of that's like mobility, and some goes into the anxiety circle as well, which I'm sure we can all understand. But they're usually, so if you're going to use them for mobility, I would not put weight on them until 2 years of age when the growth plates are closed. But otherwise, you could have a dog who's started by an organization or go alongside owner trained with a professional. If your dog doesn't need many tasks, but there's still a couple of things that you just need tweaking, your dog could essentially be ready for public access by like 6 to 9 months. You would still want to do things like certain testing and just test where they're at as they're going to continue to grow, and they're considered a puppy until 2 anyway. And then breed restrictions.
Real quick on that. This is something when I have clients ask me this all the time. And this isn't just about service dog. This is about dog training. Is one of the most common questions I get is, how long will it take? And I say, as long as it takes. I'm not like a magic 8 ball. Like there's no way I can completely reject. I can maybe give a window of time, but that might get blown out of the water after I've done some work with the dog and their people. Because it really is dependent on the dog and the people I'm working with. And if one team takes 2 weeks to learn something and another team takes 4 weeks to learn something, it isn't about like, ooh, that team that they got to a place faster doesn't mean that they're better in any way. We as humans have different learning curves. We have different learning styles, and that's the job that, in my humble opinion, it is the job of the trainer to connect with both the human and the dog and find the way that resonates with them. And that can take a couple sessions just to figure out, how do I best communicate with someone? Are they more visual? Are they good about taking things in auditory? Like, do I need to kind of share little bits and then start showing? Do I need to start showing something right away? Just for some examples. And we'll probably talk about this in a little bit, but like, we have something in the dog training world that we call the 3Ds, and it's distance, duration, and distraction. And so you start by limiting those 3 things. You don't want those present when you first start working with a dog. And when the dog is really solid, you can start adding some like distance, whether it's getting away from them and they stay in one place longer, or putting pressure on them, getting closer, that they both work like in opposition, but it's under the guise of distance. Distractions can be anything, and duration means how long they can like stay on place. So things like that. So you start working on that. And again, you want to get those to perfection with like in your home, like Kat was saying, before you go out. So that's just a little teeny tiny like taste and piece of what goes into us determining if a dog is ready for anything, whether it's a service dog or whether it's just, you know, a personal pet. And we take that really seriously, because you can push a dog into failure, and you can also push a dog to get really freaking bored. And then they just are like, I don't want to learn anymore. This is so boring. So there is that like sweet spot, and it's the same with people, right? We all learn differently. Just wanted to mention that too.
Yeah, and also more on the time thing and our individual type of training. What she was saying is it has to work for everyone, not just communicating, but we have to see if it's, you know, a unit of people, a caretaker and the person who's going to utilize the service dog, or just a family unit. Maybe that's sometimes the case. It's also, what does your lifestyle look like? Is someone in the household able to exercise the dog? Okay, what ways can we find to make this possible? Could you possibly get a treadmill? Do you have a pool? Who can do that? Do we need to find somewhere for your dog to go herding on the weekends? And then also we make sure that the person, especially with limited time or just limited ability to do things, running out of spoons early in the day or just normal spoony things. So stuff like that, we incorporate what you're already doing in your day. So you're not having to take out extra time between appointments or work and everything else that's already so exhausting. So you feed your dog twice a day. Great. Work on thresholds for 5 minutes twice a day. If that's your biggest thing right now, go sit outside on the front lawn for 5 minutes right before you feed your dog twice a day. So you'll never forget, because you're always going to be feeding your dog. So we incorporate everything into what people's life already looks like. Not trying to make it harder for them. We know people, you know, don't just have, you know, job set aside, like work time, school time, and then, oh, I have to train my dog for like this much of the day. That's our lives. Like we get it, like that's what we're supposed to be doing. So yeah, and then I guess a good thing on timing is also jumping to retire a dog, or even to just give a dog up if you want to come from just a training perspective. But washing a dog was a very commonly asked question, how you know when. I would definitely say if you've never consulted with someone, at least through Zoom, or had someone just evaluate your dog behavioral wise, you could have an issue that you think is a reason to wash your dog, and it might just be your dog's going through a fear period. Just as long as you show them the shower curtain every day and then apply things like conditioned relaxation, or just short amounts of time of something and building up to a bigger thing. Now maybe they're able to walk past giant tarps and construction sites because you did 5 minutes a day during their fear period of seeing the shower curtain. So never really just jump to washing a dog. Also, if you're going to keep the dog, it would be kind of counterproductive to then get another prospect. When you already have a dog with behavioral issues in the home, you're going to keep cycling through service dog after service dog.
And I think even as if you retire a service dog, they may continue to try to task. I like to say, like, okay, so like a surgeon is going to want to be a surgeon even when they can't be a surgeon, right? And it's different ages for different surgeons. If their hands start to shake, you literally cannot be a surgeon at that point. I guess depending on what type of surgeon you are, but or if all of a sudden they can't stand as long, so they're in the surgical suite, but they literally can't stand as long. It doesn't mean they don't have the mental capacity to be a surgeon anymore. It just means their body is to a point where it can't perform the task. So, that's something to look at, and also something to consider, because they need to then, once they are retired, you need to help them feel good about retirement. And they still need to be fulfilled even in other kind of working ways, even when they're not being able to task. So yeah, and it can be like the other behavioral aspects of it. It can be, like Kat said, can be really good to work with a specialist that can say, hey, this truly is a behavioral issue that we can completely get this dog past, get them past this, not just get them past it. We really stress the importance of changing their state of mind, changing the way they think about something. I don't want to put a Band-Aid on a knife wound or a gunshot, right? It might stop the bleeding a little teeny tiny bit, but like, it's not going to solve the issue. It's not going to save the person's life, right? So we really want to change their mindset so they feel better about that thing. And then they can task. Their brain isn't being taken up by the fact that, so she mentioned shower curtain. The sound of that shower curtain could then translate to those flags that you see outside that make noises, or those wavy things that like do that thing at like car lots. So we're able to think in a bigger capacity, because this is or in a broader capacity, about how a shower curtain could affect a dog outside too, right? And if that isn't addressed, it more than likely will get translated or transferred to a lot. It's called transference to a bunch of other situations too that you might not even think about. But we can change the way they feel about those things, right? That those aren't a threat. Or some dogs get super excited by them. Like, that's not something that we go and interact with. And then they can continue to do tasks because their brain isn't being taken away by something else. Because when they're working, that their focus needs to be on working.
Yeah. And if you've never heard of them, you could easily Google a socialization checklist for service dog and training, or just puppies in general. They have so many things, whether it's environmental, sounds, different attributes on people. Print it out, make a checklist, but do it frequently with your dog through all those stages of growing up. And then there's also, it's the desensitization sounds on YouTube clips. Your dog doesn't like the sound of popping fireworks. Just play it on a really low volume when they're just kind of chilling at home. Really low, short duration. As you realize that the dog's comfortable over the days and time, you can extend how long you do it for. You can make it a bit louder. You can put it on your TV so they actually see those fireworks, and then you're ready by the 4th of July for your dog to be around real fireworks. So it's a good way to build up just in the home. and get them ready to go out, because we'll circle back to everything. It always starts in the home, everything. You can't transfer any of those things out, especially if your dog is petrified of those sounds. You're gonna have a dog on 4th of July that's running into the bushes. Not fun, never fun.
And the way that I like to make it, hopefully make it really simple in a way that is very basic to understand. If you can't get your dog to come to you inside your living room, why in the heck would you think that you could get them to come to you outside when there's tons of distractions? Literally walking out your front door, even if you have a driveway, or if the front of your apartment is quiet, that is a huge distraction to dogs, because their main sense is their nose. When they're born, their eyes and their ears are shut, or their eyes are shut, their ears are not fully functioning. They're not shut, but they're not fully functioning. And it takes a decent amount of time for their eyes to open and for them to have full hearing capacity. So in that time frame, the way that they have to navigate the world is their nose, and like their sense of touch, but to find mama so that they can nurse, find the litter mates, because I know it's really cute when they're bundled together and people are like, oh, look how much they love each other. Yeah, but they're also doing that because body heat, like, is staying with the pack is safety. So like they find each other through their nose, because that's like their main sense. So the second that they are exposed to more smells, boom, like everything opens up for them. So that's, I mean, we really like to stress that, like, literally just opening your front door is a major distraction. So Kat said, if you can't get behaviors inside your home or inside at like a quieter, less distracting area, you're never going to get it outside. You just won't. I mean, maybe here and there, because for a moment the dog has tuned into you, but that's their choice, and it's in a moment.
Well, if you are training for mobility, especially, there are some dogs, an exercise alone is to take the leash out. And if your dog is already going all over the place, jumping around, doing spins, giving you every behavior they know, because they're so excited, and you're going, you want to go on a walk, and they're just getting more amped, you should not walk out the front door yet. And that was basically your training session right there, is to wait for calm, great, give a reward of some sort, put the leash away, do it again later for a small amount of time. And then eventually your dog's going to see a leash and probably do the most calm thing, go to the bed and lay down, knowing you're going to come to me, you're going to put a leash on me, and then we're going to go outside. But if the dog and you've already lost their attention just because you showed them the leash, you're probably not ready to walk outside yet. Yeah. Just open the front door, if that, go back in.
Yeah, and they, even if they don't go on their place or their bed to wait for the leash, like, even as long as they have like, okay, yeah, but I know the leash means I'm going somewhere, I look forward to that. Great. But people get really confused. Happy and excited are two different scales. A dog could be at level 10 happy and a level 2 or 3 excited, right? People think a crazy excited dog means happy. No, it can mean neurotic. You don't want every time you see your friends for them to be like, and start jumping on you and grabbing you and spinning you and running around and around and around in circles.
No, Sally would be like, I'm going to pass out.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is what we mean by change the state of mind and be aware of what emotions you're adding to a situation. And this applies to task work too. But yeah, something as simple as the leash. What emotions are you creating in your dog? Are you passing on to them through that leash? Because whatever level of energy, whatever level of excitement a dog is at as they go through a threshold, especially like front door out into the world, they're going to only go up, because they're just going to get more stimulated. So even if that's fear-based, or if they're just like, woo, I love life, or if they're really forward and want to take charge, and they're going to do it with even more intensity, even more excitement. So that's just something to be mindful about. And also, by the way, Cat's looking, we have another computer. There were so many incredible questions that were submitted. We've taken a lot of time to go through all of them. and to make notes and make sure that we're touching base on all the incredible questions that you guys gave. And we may actually start pulling up some of those questions, because some of them, like the stuff that we're talking about right now is all come from questions. So there's things that we can answer in a general way, but some of the questions, and again, we can answer all questions in a general way, but some of them, if the person is here and we're able to be like, hey, this is the question. If this person is here, you don't have to turn on your camera. You don't need to see you. But if the person is here and they're willing to actually have a little bit of a conversation with us, so we can ask some clarifying questions, that can be really helpful. So that's what Kat is scrolling through and what she's looking at.
Yes.
And what we're sharing right now, the information we're sharing is all based off of questions. And the reason we did this is, I don't know if you can tell, but we kind of like our job a little teeny tiny bit. And we'll sit for hours talking to each other about what we do and be like, oh my God, we're supposed to be vacuuming and cleaning the house, or like, crap, we're supposed to be somewhere in 5 minutes. We didn't want to do that to you guys, because we'll just get on a roll and just keep talking, because for us, it's fun. And it's also really meaningful. It means a lot to us, especially tapping into the service dog world. Like it just has brought so much more, even more meaning for me to my job. So that's what's going on. That's why she's scrolling.
Yes, I'm putting everything into the category of stuff that we can just focus on training wise, so that it'll make more sense when we go into how that transfers to a dysautonomia service dog. But for something like breed, size, is the age of the dog considered? Absolutely. And yes, all trained very individually. Some people, they might not want their dog to be pawing at them, or some people don't want their dog to be, booping at them. For me, during dissociative episode or after syncope, I want my dog to lick my hand. I think it's the most disgusting thing in the world for a dog to lick the palm of my hand. So I taught him to do something that I really don't like. And I never taught him the trick paw. He can do a lot of tricks. That's not one of them. People run up to him and go, can I have your paw? Can I have your paw? And he's just looking at them like, I don't know that. A paw for him is never a command. It means low blood sugar. So yes, all for specific things, even as to how you want the dog to relay that information to you and what they do after, all to the individual. The breed and size, I mean, Goldens, Labs, and Poodles are always going to be people's top 3. Doodles for anyone who needs a hypoallergenic dog, but I've never ruled out a breed of dog for a certain reason. I mean, unless you live in a place where you probably shouldn't have that kind of dog, just climate wise. But otherwise, age would be the one thing I do consider, because they slow down and it's not really fair to expect them to keep up with certain lifestyles. But a dog can work for most of their life. I met a 22-year-old Chihuahua that's still working, so that was cool.
And something really cool too. So Kat Fresno is a golden retriever, and I have Biscuit. He's my little burnt biscuit because he's black. Now he's getting some gray. But he literally is like 8 to 9 pounds, depending on how much he's eaten that day and how much exercise he's had. So he's little, like compared to Fresno. But he's a sensitive dog, which means that they feel things, sense that their senses are just heightened. And in the dog world, there's, dogs that are really forward that could be canine dogs, right? Like it doesn't matter what's going on. If there's bombs going off, or like they'll move forward. They're just more naturally born more forward. And then there's dogs that just are kind of, in between that real forwardness and between the sensitive. And that's the majority that you'll see. If there's too many super forward dogs in a litter or in a pack of dogs, that could create some infighting. So the majority of dogs are like kind of the ones that are in the middle, and then the sensitive ones, again, there's not as many of those in a litter, but they're literally born with heightened senses, because I think this is so cool. Nature is amazing. They're born that way because it's their job to alert the family unit or the pack. And I say family unit because dogs get along with pretty much anything. So their family unit could be a parrot, a baby chick, and 3 people. But in the dog world, it's their job to alert the pack to danger, and even food sources, water sources. And then once they're alerted to danger, the more forward dogs will take charge and lead. Like if they have to lead them away, if it's going to be a hunt, they're going to lead the middle ones, and they're going to all do it together. And the more sensitive ones will stay on the outskirts, continuing to alert, which I think is so cool. And my little guy was born that as that more sensitive dog. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because he actually learned from Fresno and watched what Fresno was doing and realized that it was scent related. And he started tasking without either one of us training him. He actually started tasking for Cat. So like, even though he's little, if he was able to jump up on the couch and give her compression in certain times, it actually really helped, which I think is so freaking cool. Like, that's how incredible dogs are. And then she was able to shape it, like teach me, and I could continue to support what he was doing. But that kind of goes to the thing that she was just saying about like breed, size, temperament, all of that. Like he's much smaller than Fresno. He's a mix. He looks like a wire hair dachshund, like a terrier mix. So he's not like a purebred, but he literally learned to start tasking from watching another dog that is an expert at it.
How old is Biscuit?
Biscuit, so I adopted him in like January 2017. They said he was 6 months to a year. Where are we? So he's like 8.5, 9 is a guesstimate.
And this was within the last like 3 years that this happened. His dog picked it up. This is that happy accident I was talking about. If there's another dog who's going to influence this dog in a good way, let's say I had already retired Fresno, maybe for reasons where he wasn't working well, Biscuit wouldn't have picked up how to work because he was just replicating, and then realized, oh, this is when we do it. So now even sometimes if Fresno's not around, Biscuit will be there for me. And
by the way, that goes
into, because someone asked if their 6-year-old Cavapoo
real
would
quick,
be too
that
old.
goes the opposite direction too, y'all. If you have another dog that is naughty, or has behavioral issues or whatever, and you bring a new dog in because you think that's going to fix your dog that you have because it now has a buddy, no, now you're going to have 2 problems.
Yes.
Unless the dog that you bring in is more educated, possibly, but the one that's been in your home will have more influence in the beginning than the one that you're just bringing in. So just a little note on that.
Yeah. So if the person with the 6-year-old Cavapoo is here, no, it's not too old. However, you said that you can't walk him. Your husband does. Your husband's number 1. You're the loving number 2. Well, you actually had a really good response to this question.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I joke with Kat all the time. Like, I've been doing this for a really long time, and I've developed my philosophy and my personal training philosophy for a really long time. And one thing that I really help people and want to help people make a connection with is their own energy and their own purpose for doing things, because whether you know it or not, your dog can feel that. They can feel your energy. So like if one person's like, I have to go walk the dog, and then another person in that same household is like, well, I'll walk the dog. If you're the dog, which one do you want to go with? Would you want to be connected, literally connected to someone that's like, I gotta walk with you, or I want to walk with you. I get to walk with you, and the purpose is the same.
Humans are the only species who follow leaders who are just not.
We're unstable, and not balanced. I'm just saying. But like, yeah. So I really like to help people connect with their energy, because you could have a purpose, but what is the influencing factor? What are you feeling? Because those feelings translate to energy, and then that truly gets passed on to the dog. So for that question, like Kat said, that old adage, you can't ever teach an old dog new tricks, caca. We've trained really old dogs whether it's to teach them a trick or behavioral speaking. Yes, there may be some limitations.
That would be the one thing I'd say about age, really.
Yeah.
Is the limitations are going to slow down.
And you have to be honest about what those limitations are for your dog. But for this specific question, and I don't know if this person is here, and if they are, we can like give them a second to, if they want to connect with us. But what I would ask if this was my client is I would ask, why do you want to connect with your dog the way that your husband does? Because that question came out like he's number one and I'm number two. Does that mean to you that you think your dog loves him more and doesn't love you as much? And I'm not trying to be harsh. I just am a trainer that I've been doing this for so long that I don't blow smoke up people's ass anymore. I'm going to shoot you straight. I'm going to do it really kindly and lovingly and support you. But I'm also going to tell you the truth, because you don't ultimately want to spend your money and spend more time spending money because I'm trying to people please you or make you feel better all the time. Because if it is, I want my dog to love me as much as it loves my husband because it will walk with my husband. I completely understand that feeling, but that also isn't a truth. Your dog is going to love both of you equally, but there's something that's happening with your husband that the dog feels more safe and respected in a way that it can follow the husband. And again, this isn't a male female thing in any way, right? It can be one person or not. But if a dog is following one person over another, it's not about love. It's about feeling safe, feeling guided, feeling understood, feeling understood and having complete understanding for what's expected in a moment. And that if that's going to change, that the person that is guiding them is going to give them direction that they understand. It's a feeling that the dog has that creates that willingness to follow. So if it's about, well, he loves the other person more than me, that's your ego. And a dog doesn't respond to ego. That is it's a human thing. Believe me, I do that a lot. It's something that I've been working on almost my whole life on, not making choices and decisions and taking action from an ego-based place. I want to make them from a heart-centered, balanced place. So in that situation, it really is about creating a more balanced relationship, and maybe asking the husband, hey, like, what are you thinking when you walk the dog? Like when you put the leash on, like, how are you walking? It could create a really cool experience to where one person that is doing something can guide the other person. And then figuring out, because you also don't have to do it just like your husband does, but you need to figure out what it is in you that might need to shift and might need to change in order for your dog to feel comfortable with you, right? And it could be as simple as, I really don't know how to handle this leash. Cat's talked about our foundation, and I've developed like this foundation, key things that need to happen, in my opinion and in my experience, to have a solid foundation with a dog. And leash work, which then leash work is then related to walking, is one of those key foundations, because there's a nuance in handling a leash and getting comfortable with it. So you can walk your dog before you even walk outside. Remember how we said, if you can't get your dog to come to you inside the house, don't expect them to come to you. If you don't have good recall inside, you're not going to have really probably any recall outside. If you can get your dog to feel comfortable to follow you inside the house on leash, you're building a neural pathway for them, which just is creating an understanding of what it means to have a leash on with you, and to see that you are someone that can calmly and confidently guide them through whatever, because the fact of the matter is, with the leash, they're connected to you. So they don't have autonomy. Like if they got scared of something and wanted to run away, even if they didn't have to run away, right? Like even if they didn't have to, but if instincts kick in and say fight, flight, freeze, or agree, like, and their choice is flee, as flight, they can't do that because they're connected to you. So they need to have a level of trust and respect in order to do that. So again, I'm going to stop there because I could talk about this one subject for probably 5 straight hours, because it really is profound.
You've added, you've answered a couple things that I've had to move to the bottom as you're talking, because you've answered those questions just in speaking.
But do we want to ask that person if they want to come on?
Well,
or-
I want to get to this one thing because it goes into what you were saying about someone's asking about a German Shepherd who's trained to do bracing and things for that, just around the home. They're kind of wanting to do that extensively outside the home even. So that's where I think they're wanting scent training for heart rate, so that if they are going to fall, they don't have to just rely on their dog being around to brace, I guess, in the meantime.
I'm here.
Hi.
Hi. Okay. I don't have the video on, but I'm here. I recognize the question.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yay. So you're the one with the German Shepherd, or with the 6-year-old?
I have the German Shepherd, and
German
he's
Shepherd.
3.
Okay, cool. So you're wanting to do scent training for heart rate, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so braces while you stand still. And so do you have a pulse ox or a smartwatch?
I have a smartwatch. I haven't trained him anything for like raising heart rate. I just like him. I make my bed. I can't stand still. I make my bed and he helps me make my bed, but I haven't done anything beyond that.
Okay. Do you kind of have a log or something like that you could look into, a pulse ox or something where you can check your heart rate and know what your baseline right now would be to starting to feel pre-syncope?
I have visible. Yes.
Okay, great. So do you have anyone else around, or is it just you?
It's just me.
Okay, so this is where the pulse ox is going to come in. So if you
Okay.
know what your kind of baseline is when you do make a log, before it gets there, you don't want to start the dog at your baseline. You kind of want to just build up to understanding what that smell means. So do it before you get to a point of, okay, I can't do this anymore.
Okay.
What I'm going to ask you to do is to have things around. So have mason jars, but I want you to swab your saliva when you feel yourself getting symptomatic even, and you know your heart rate might start rising. That can be saved in the freezer for about 2 months to use for training if you just open the top, kind of do like a find it game.
Okay.
And so that can be, like I said, for 2 months in the freezer, but it needs to be a jar. It can be a cotton ball, but some people are uncomfortable with putting a whole cotton ball in their mouth, I understand. So you can try Q-tips, but that's something, put it in a jar, and you can just do find it games or the cup game where you switch it around, or at first you just have an empty cup in your saliva. The dog sniffs at yours. If you use a clicker or if you have a marker word like yes, you get a treat for that. And then eventually it'll be something that you start to use because the dog will start smelling it, secreting from you. And then you can actually advance to a heart rate that's closer to what your dangerous zone is, because the dog will already know what the rising smells like to be able to tell you before it even gets that high. But just to up, everything, make it more advanced, you could eventually end up with 6 cups, some of, negative, where your saliva is just your saliva. You can start making it more advanced over time when you see with just the one empty cup and the one that is your saliva when you were symptomatic. Once they get that one, add in another cup. Solid on that, add in another cup. Does that make sense?
Okay. I'll make sure. I need clarification, but okay. So I have a baseline, and then it's a little over baseline. I get Q-tips. I can freeze them in a mason jar in the freezer for up to 2 months. I get my dog with a clicker or whatever. I have a clicker and I make a sound with my noise to know that that's an increase, and then slowly increase so that he would become aware of it. And how do I know he knows that that's a sin?
So whether you want your dog, if you're shaping the alert to be like a nose boop, or if it's a paw.
Okay.
Yeah, so the dog will, you start to shape the behavior of what they're gonna do after you notice that the dog is just intensely, even for a split second, like let's say these are the 2 cups or 3 cups, let's say, and this is the one that has your scent sample in it. Your dog goes up to all 3, nose goes right here. In that split second of the nose even going toward this one, click and treat at first, the way you're gonna up it is more duration. So let's say that we take 2, one's yours, one's nothing. The dog looks, smells both maybe, so you're not gonna click right when they smell it, but then they go, no, it's this one. I know it's this one. Hold it for like a second, click, and give.
Okay.
Its duration's longer.
Okay. And then I slowly build up to where it's in the dangerous zone, and I can have like six whatever intervals.
Yeah, usually you won't even have to go into your danger zone if you're already starting when it's getting to be just like a bit symptomatic, where you know this is what leads to this, and this, which then leads to syncope. You probably won't even have to start practicing with your danger zone because they'll have a good idea by that point. As long as you do it consistently daily, even if it's for 2 to 5 minutes.
And remember how we said their sense of smell is their strongest sense.
Yes.
So like what she's saying, like once they get that smell and understand they're supposed to be finding that smell, they're supposed to be, making some sort of connection with that smell. It's only going to get stronger. So that only makes it easier for them to smell it. If that makes sense.
Yes.
So it's not like you have to like work on like, oh, it's still this, or they'll know. It's still going to be that same scent, and it might be a little bit more. And then how she was saying, like eventually you're not going to need the swab in the jar because they're going to start smelling it naturally from you. The biggest thing, and this applies to service dog tasking, and it just applies to dogs in general. One huge mistake people make is they get excited because they're having some positive progress and some positive results, and then they push the dog into failure because they're expecting too much. So in this case, it would be stopping doing the swabs. I always
a little at a time.
Yeah, and I always tell people I like to err on the side of caution, whether it's I'm working with a dog that's super aggressive and they're ready for something next, right? Like so in this case, like you really want that dog, like Kat was saying, to go to the jar with the scent in it. You want them to get to the place where they're like, fuck, I don't even have to smell those other things. It's there.
Yeah, those
like,
go right to
sorry,
it.
I almost swore. I have a potty mouth. But like, you know what I mean? The dog is there like, nah, I don't need to smell. You could have like 20 cups and the dog's like starts to go towards them and it's just like, boom.
When it's that solid, shape what you want. Is it the paw? Is it the nose? Is it doing deep pressure? Is it all of the above? Maybe because it's that bad. But that's when you will start to then shape, I want this paw or this or that.
Okay. And then I was just going to say, I was bedridden. because of POTS, I could hardly even sit up. And then I was lifeguard. I had a lesion on my inner left knee, and I had jeans on in bed, and he would smell through my jeans and make me lift up my pant leg and lick the lesion that ended up being melanoma on his own.
Incredible.
Yes.
Not even
so he already is scent trained.
Yeah, but by alerting me, and he kept insisting on it over days and weeks. So yeah, so I have a good lot of hope for him.
So if there was consistency in how he was telling you, I'd say use that to shape your alert.
Yeah, and what an incredible relationship.
Yes,
with your dog.
And then I went. It was during COVID, and I went and got it removed, and it was melanoma. So I'm so bonded to him. I'm so grateful.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Thank you for
definitely thank you for that.
Yeah, and thank you for having the courage to be so vulnerable and to share your truth and your story with us. We like to tell people like courage is contagious, and the willingness to be vulnerable and share your truth can also be contagious too. And that's the only way that we can truly help people is through their courage to be vulnerable and tell their truth, and then we can help them through that. So I don't know, is it Lara?
Yes.
So Lara, thank you for your courage in being vulnerable today.
Thank you.
Are you answering the chat?
Yeah, sorry, I'm not keeping up with all the things. Okay. Going to that, someone wanted to know the best watches that work for heart rate monitoring. I'm gonna say
I have no idea. I mean, she teases me. I have a Samsung. So like
I would say a smartwatch. Okay. I did not like having a pulse ox around my neck all the time. I did for a while until I gave into the whole smartwatch thing. They're pretty accurate. They're like very accurate, actually. They check your oxygen levels and things like that too. Obviously, like it's Apple versus Android type of thing. I know there are other watches too that aren't just smartwatches, things like what Fitbits.
Yeah.
I've never had much luck with those though, honestly, I will say. But just make sure, this is so important, if you are scent training your dog and you're going to be using a pulse ox or a smartwatch, that you don't reward your dog for coming to do the alert behavior or just paying attention to you, whether like I just checked my watch because like a heart rate alert went off and then my dog comes over to me. Try to look out and make sure that your dog's not doing that because they're pairing it with the sound that your watch makes or that you look at it when your heart rate alert goes off. I've seen a lot of people with POTS inadvertently teach their dog, come alert to me when they're checking and waiting for what their heart rate measures on their watch. So the dog makes the association of a person going like this, gets up from under a table at a restaurant, like, oh no, you need to sit down. And the person's like, but I'm fine. And I'm like, well, the past 5 times you've even just checked your watch, your dog got up and did that. So they've now associated you looking at your watch with that's you measuring your heart rate. So they get very smart with that. So that's why I also recommended the journal and the notepad don't have like a little beeping thing that goes off that they can hear. If anything, keep it on a vibrate setting so you could see when it spikes, but make sure it's not something that your dog is paying the most attention to other than the actual scent and if they're accurate or not, which was when the fun part of doing the thing with the swabs or the cotton balls comes in, because no watch or pulse ox necessary. You've already checked it. That's why you swapped it.
Yeah, and dogs are very intelligent, but they're also a little bit more simple in their reasoning process than the human brain is. And they learn and connect to the world, especially our verbal world or through associations. So I haven't done it, but I've always say I want to teach a dog when I say sit to lay down, and when I say lay down, they sit, to just prove this point that it's not the word, it's the sound of the word. They don't understand vowels and consonants. It's the sound of the word and then the association that I've created to what that sound means. And they are constantly, we can do this too, but they are constantly in the moment and connected. 2 dogs could fight, and if they're taken away and they haven't been brought back together to create some sort of balance and allow them to be in each other's presence, they don't have to be right next to each other, but to be in each other's presence, so that you've now changed an imprint on what the other dog means. When those 2 dogs come back in contact, they're going to be like that again, because that's how you left them. That's the association they have. Or even when they go back to the environment. So like if it happens at a dog park, now this person's dog, every time they go to the dog park, is on edge because like I could get, bit again or something like that. So it's really important to be really mindful what connections you're making, because it'll happen like that. And it doesn't have to take that many times in order for it to start creating new neural pathways and start creating behavior. And that's kind of what she was talking about.
Yeah, and someone did ask, I think I've kind of answered this through the past few questions and then kind of touched on it as well. Yes, you can train the dog for recognizing high and or low blood pressure, low blood sugar, even people who get chronic migraines. Obviously, we know seizure alert dogs. There are a wide variety of things. The one thing that people don't believe in the most, that is very true, no matter what the pain, where it's coming from, cortisol is released in the body. That's where psychiatric service dogs versus emotional support comes in, because they are very much real service dogs. They do help people from just a whole meltdown, panic, dissociating, which very dangerous things can happen during. If the dog is able to alert to all of these things, even high, low blood pressure, they know that one of those things are coming on, and whether that means you need to take a medication to prevent it, get somewhere safe, get someone to find help, get the dog to go retrieve your medication. There are so many things. So overall, yes. And then yes, about mast cell. For that, if the dog's not scent trained, someone may need to administer epi for you. frequently. I find that keeping a zipper in your dog's vest is something helpful. Maybe keep a little card on your dog's vest or a patch where if the dog is coming to someone, or my friend keeps a bracelet on for her service dog to take off and go bring it to someone for help in public, or to go find her like partner if they get separated at a park or in a grocery store. And so it'll say on the bracelet or the card, if I've come up to you alone, follow me back to my owner. Some people don't want the ambulance called, so it can say, this is normal, I pass out, or just the best thing you could do is let my dog do their job. Maybe give me some water when I wake up. Or if it's in the case of Mastel, that's when I've seen if there's not someone there to administer like an IV medication or something, or to do the epi that feels comfortable, then maybe your dog has something that says, if I'm going into anaphylaxis and my dog has brought you this card, please call an ambulance. And then all of that, yeah, still goes into the hypotension, hypermobility, cardiac issues.
And you could probably, some companies or organizations have like a necklace or a bracelet that you can wear that you can push a button and that alerts someone.
Yeah.
Is that something that a dog, I don't know, I've never asked you this before.
If you press a button, that calls emergency people.
So could the dog like do that? Or is that,
no, the dog could do that, but usually people don't want the ambulance called if they're just all the time passing out and it's totally normal. Because the rest of this question is, I'm taking in an ambulance and like, what if no one is there? That's happened to me out of Disneyland. They escorted me because I was going into pre-syncope in a corner with a water bottle. My dog was doing deep pressure. Disneyland has a rule where if they've already seen you on the ground or have any suspicions, you must be taken in an ambulance. At the time I was alone. I had gotten separated from everyone in my group, told them to go. They waited until someone got there. By that point, I was already passed out. They weren't letting me do what I needed to do and what my dog needed to do. They insisted I get in the ambulance. They took my dog and said that I could not have him with me. But a certain training that I do, especially with owner trainers, is I contact local fire departments and things like that. And we do practice with the dog going inside the ambulance just in case. And then we do practice of you going in the ambulance because they work with us and they'll say, hey, we need firehouse dog training and we'll exchange it for you to bring a group of people who need service dog socialization in an ambulance. Okay, cool. So then the dog gets to see someone connecting all these wires on them, taking their blood pressure, putting them in the ambulance. We do one round where the dog goes in, one round where someone stays out with the dog and the dog doesn't freak out knowing they just did their job. The owner needs to go. And then for the medical bracelets, yeah, I think I kind of touched on that one.
And I think something super important too, because I don't want to just assume that people understand things. Like if you haven't taken the time to teach your dog to go to someone, don't think that just because they're great at like tasking and they're doing a lot of really amazing things, don't think that they're just going to do that. Cat has worked with Fresno so much that he knows to do that to the point of, well, do you want to tell, like, I don't know if you want to share it, but what happened at the airport?
Oh, so when you get to a certain point, your dog doesn't just go find, you know, like a specific person or the person that you came there with. What if you are traveling alone? So when I started to really feel like I had my independence, I moved to California in the worst of COVID, and I only had my dog, couple luggages, no return ticket. So I'm, you know, going through the airport, about to miss my flight because I can't breathe. They told me the wrong gate. And I looked up and I could see it. So I just pointed
The gate.
and I gave Fresno my boarding pass and his leash, put it in his mouth, told him, look at that. He looked at it. Yes, that one. Go there. He ran. They were about to close the doors. They were calling my name over the intercom. I told him to run there. I fully collapsed right where I was, but I told him, I'm good. Just go there. Right where I pointed, he brought it. They didn't close the doors. They came and helped me carry my bags onto the plane. So that's like when you get to the most advanced of assistance and trusting your dog to run to a gate in between. There could be little ESAs everywhere, but I trust him. He knows that he has a job to do. Went right to my gate. I made the flight. So that's another thing. Also, there's another part to that question I think though.
I also want to be mindful of timing too.
I messaged Sally. If there's a bathroom break requirement, Sally, if you need that now, I'm not sure if you needed that now.
I'm all good.
Okay. So that same person was asking if they have a complex history that doesn't fit on the bracelet, and will they recognize this as a service dog if it's wearing a vest. It's a service. It says if it's wearing only recognize. Okay, that's what I was thinking. So no, I don't like to advertise that either. And when I started, I said if we do training without the dog wearing the vest, to make sure they're just as reliable. A vest is not required under the ADA, and a leash, quite honestly, isn't either. If it's going to interfere with the dog's task work. So if you pass out and the dog's going to need to do what Fresno was about to do and go run to my gate, the dog legally does not have to be wearing a leash. Do not take advantage of that. It must be something that interferes with a task that is going to help you. If not, don't just say it's a service dog. I know they're allowed to be off leash. No, they won't only recognize that, but that's where I'm thinking that any type of pocket, collar, even if you wanted to use like a vest that maybe doesn't say disabled, but just is like a cute little mesh vest that has a zipper in it that says open this, whatever, and the dog is like going to tell someone to take the card out of that zipper. And if you have complex medical things going on, I would just refrain from saying what those things are, basically state the needs when that dog brings them, whatever it is that they're bringing, like the medical bracelet or whatever it is. Just say what you would need and what you don't need pretty concisely. If you can't can't or don't want to type out all of your complex medical history, they don't need to know that anyway. They just need to know what to do to help you.
And I would say, like, you know, there's times that Fresno's out, like, without his vest too, like what she's saying, but also be realistic in the world that we live in and with people around you. Because having a vest or a bandana or something on can help people be mindful about that this isn't just a cute dog like walking through the airport or out at Home Depot or at the mall, or it also and it shouldn't be like this. It should not be like this, but it can also keep people from being like, why do you have a dog here? Like that dog shouldn't be here. If there's something that kind of signifies this dog is working, like Kat said, like you don't have to give them like your health history, your medical history, but it can create some sort of understanding with people. And I say this because we've traveled extensively for work, and that means Fresno travels with us. And he when we fly and stuff, he does wear a vest.
Sometimes
And
not.
and we have but even with his vest on, we have encountered some of the most ignorant, I'm sure a lot of you have, some of the most ignorant behavior. I have been flabbergasted. I was like, I cannot believe this. And that's with a vest on and a dog that like fits underneath the seat in front of Cat. Like he can fit himself and be really comfortable under there. And people still have just horrific opinions and need to share them. And I think with the vest on, it makes it a little bit easier sometimes, not always. So.
Yeah. I thought this question was really good about what happens if it's a suitable time for your heart rate to be high during exercise if you're able. Will your dog tell you nonstop? Isn't that stressful or disruptive? I am a very physically active person, which does not pair well with dysautonomia. It has to be I have to work around that. But yes, my dog will tell me. He will bring me meds. He will still alert me when things are getting dangerously high. But without physical activity, I could not carry on. So that's where the foundational work of having trained your dog to be comfortable to go to a bed or something when told, like, thank you for letting me know, is what I tell him. And okay, you can go, and I direct him to where he's going. So if I'm at the gym and I want to tell him like, go lay on that. If I brought him something to lay on, he'll go lay on that. He'll know not to keep doing it. I let him know, thanks, you did do it. So if your dog is excessively doing it, I would say go back into the home and start building that. I'm gonna use point of reference of sorts. So you could just point to a blanket you might have brought with you to the gym and say, go lay down on, however you say it. Heather says go chill when she does place work, but I'll say place or go to that. Yes, that, lay down. But yeah, that having something like that will be helpful for telling your dog, yes, you did your job. Thank you. you've told me, I'll take care of it, or do what you need to do.
And again, that is your responsibility to teach your dog place work. And like Kat is saying, when we say place work, it just means you have to teach them to go to a place. We start doing that by using a raised dog cot. Because if they have to step up on it, there's more thought process into it, and it can create the association of whatever you name it. Like Kat said, I like to name place work chill, because I want to be able to tell a dog go chill, and they know that means, oh, I just go and lay down. So it's a combination of place work, and then a really key component that a lot of trainers might miss is the conditioned relaxation part of it. Because just because they learn to go to a place doesn't mean they're truly relaxed. Just because a dog is laying on place doesn't mean that they know how to completely relax. Like if a noise or something happens, do they jump up and like get startled or get off or get super excited? And then can they find settle again? Can they find that relaxation? Or does a stimulus added, does a distraction added pull them off of place? And a lot of times it will, unless you haven't worked conditioned relaxation on that place. And then eventually you don't have to use the raised dog bed anymore. Like you transition that to just them going to choose a spot, or you giving them a spot where they don't need a blanket or a bed or a raised dog bed or anything. They'll just know, I'm going to go over here and just relax. And that means I stay here until I'm given a different direction. But one thing that they really stress is, if you have an on switch, if you've turned your dog on, you better also have an off switch.
Wait, this is perfect, because this question that was next is that their dog's great at learning tasks, overly friendly, cries if people don't pet her, gets very excited to meet people. Can I train this away, or is she not going to be a service dog? Definitely can be worked on with everything that she's talking about with that place, meaning calm, the 3 Ds that she had mentioned. We don't believe in being able to train out like anxiety or something. For example, we work on it, we make them feel good. So everything that you're saying right now actually goes into this question. Sorry, that's why I just wanted to like,
yeah.
There's
And if you, how she said we want to change their mind about something, in some instances, trainers will just suppress anxiety, for example, or like try to suppress excitement. And that can look like the dog is past it, but they're not. They're hanging on to it. And at some point it's going to get worse and get bigger. So what we want to do is change the frame of mind, change the literal mindset, which means changing the neural pathways and helping them have a different understanding of the same situation that is causing the behavior that we don't want. So yeah, in the case where they get excited when people come around, it's a matter of changing the association from people means excitement, or if it's anxiety, or but changing that to people mean relax and I can. And then also building that into them and showing them, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. Because a lot of times what you'll see is dogs like looking around like, oh shit, I know I'm supposed to do something.
Imagine passing out in the middle of a store or a theme park, and that's your dog's state of mind right there already.
I'm supposed to do something, but like, I'm just, my brain is if their brain is occupied by that excitement or that fear or that anxiety, they can't find the answer. So it's your job to make those connections for them, right? That okay, I'm supposed to do something with people around. Oh, right. I just kind of relax a little bit. And we don't want to train dogs to be robots. So I'm not expecting a dog that's like, if people come and the dog's like, hey girl, hey, glad you're here. Like, awesome, right? Like that's vastly different than jumping or being really, I don't know how to feel about people. It's that whole thing of that difference between like excitement and happy. And excitement can come from fear, anxiety, excess energy, a bunch of different things.
But when they know and they're sure of what they're supposed to be doing, and this goes into the question where someone asked if there's an episode.
I want to ask Sally, timing wise.
I've been messaging her.
Oh, you're in contact with her.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. I just want to be mindful and respectful of people's time.
No,
so.
me
I
too. That's
appreciate that. Thank you.
keeping her updated.
Because like I said, we'll be here for 5 hours, you know,
No,
like,
easily,
it just
easily.
might be Kat and I and Sally and Emily.
I know Sally be like, you guys.
They're like, guys, we gotta
I
go.
know, please stop. This goes into what would happen during an episode where you wouldn't be able to interact or tell them what to do. I think we've given a lot of options, but especially if, you know, the dog is not already sure of what they're supposed to do. If they're very confident, then they're going to go into the response. Like, I don't know how many times I've gone to a safe spot because my dog's like telling me I'm about to pass out. So I go find a really quiet spot in a theme park to then come out of it with my dog being absolutely perfect on my chest, looking at my disgustingly at my palm. And I'm like, okay, I'm conscious. Thank you so much. I'm awake. You can stop now. But I open my eyes and I look around and there's a whole crowd of people around me just taking photos and videos. My dog could have easily been like, ooh, attention. I love that. Let me just like, no, that's another thing is not, if you can't interact or tell them what to do and you are traveling alone, it's going to be really important that you solidify these things and your dog being sure of all just being relaxed in general, but also knowing what to do, where to go, even if they are overwhelmed and you're out alone. I can't communicate with him, so I do every command has a hand signal that I do with him more often than the verbal cues. When I'm getting into that state of mind, I have to use all hand signals. Even with cataplexy, with my narcolepsy, there's a lot of times where I just can't speak. If I'm completely frozen or coming out of consciousness, I have to maybe give a snap, or a certain number of snaps will mean something to him, whatever I'm capable of doing. So that's, again, specific to the individual and what they're able to do. But definitely practice that with your dog with mock trials of, okay, do the things that you show to do before you're passing out, kind of the things that the dog would need to do, and then see what they do. If you just set up a camera and you're on the floor, what are they going to do? Are they going to lay on you and do the response that you've taught? Then you bring it into small distractions, and then something as big as me waking up to a bunch of people taking a video of the cute dog laying on this girl who looks like she's taking a nap in the middle of Disney World.
Yeah, and I think something really important, and we've touched on this, so you'll hear things a lot that are similar throughout these common threads, is that like you really need to make sure that your dog has a very clear understanding of these associations and what to do no matter what is around them. And I like, there's times, like Kat said, she's very active, and we'll be doing something and she'll be like, Fresno, go away, we're doing something, like, right, stop bugging me. Like, he'll come over and then like however many minutes later, her watch will tell her like, oh shit,
Especially when I'm
shit,
back.
you're right, buddy, I'm sorry, buddy. I sit down, and then he's like, but like he will keep coming up to her to the point of a nuisance.
If I'm
right?
vacuuming,
like, he will
I
do
just
his
think
job.
he wants to follow me around. No, vacuuming is a postural change. Constantly cleaning, postural changing, folding your laundry, getting out of the dryer, all like, I'm just like, Fresno, why are you being annoying? And I'm like, oh,
You're doing what I taught you to do.
my bad. Oops. But okay.
But that's the point though, is that they need to be at an understanding to where it's annoying. Because you can get distracted in doing things. You can be really involved in doing a task and you're not aware yet, but their sense of smell is phenomenally better than ours, and even can be even quicker than our own biological, like, response, neurological, biological response, and understanding and feeling of that response. Like, they know most of the time before you do. That's the cool thing. That's the point.
Exactly. Someone had asked, which I think we've given a lot of clarity on, so if anyone needs more than that, it was how to assess if a team is actually ready to be going out into public. So I think we've given a lot of knowledge as to how you know your dog is definitely ready, confident, just able to go out, do their job, not feeling any type of way unless you're feeling good enough to work with them on anything you're going out to work on. Don't go out with 0 spoons or with someone who can't take over and maybe switch off. That's not going to be best. You're going to have to leave during a situation that you didn't have enough spoons to follow through with, and then your dog has that last impression of something that maybe can turn into something the next time you see it, like Halloween decorations, a great example. So I think we've pretty much touched on that in all different ways. And then types of training offered and what we don't offer. I think like the only thing you could say we don't offer is like bite work,
Yeah.
pretty much. Yeah.
I
We like
yeah.
to participate like with when our friends do it, but we do not offer that. Or
Yeah, I
go-
have to learn and put on a bite suit and get
yeah,
bit.
that's fun.
But also
Mhm.
I'm moving away from
No
a
aggression.
serious
Yeah, we don't want major aggressive.
like serious like aggression rehab, whether it's and that it's serious. Like I still work with dogs that may show aggressive behavior, but like I feel it out. But if it's like intense, I've been doing it for so many years, like my body is telling me back up, let's move away from that. So that's like intense, especially human aggression. I'm pulling back from that because that can take a lot of time. And
nerve
can,
damage.
yeah, it can be really hard on your body. If it's dog to dog, that's a little bit different, but I'm still not
Still
taking,
no.
yeah,
Not
if it's really intense, I'm stepping away from
As far
that,
as what
but,
we do though, I think we've really touched on that, but just additional stuff. I really love doing school assemblies for kids. I haven't been able to do anything since I've moved in California. So if anyone has recommendations for that, let me know. I just love to spread education. We do mental health events where we show some demonstrations for what the anxiety portion that's debilitating, what that can look like for someone who needs assistance from an actual psychiatric service dog. I used to do library educational presentations, which we're kind of looking for right now, to help kids who have trouble reading. The dog's deep pressure helps the kids actually come out of their shell, take a deep breath, and try to read. We do picking up dogs from a chosen place and like go over whether it's to travel. We do transportation. We could do things as much as you tell us what you need. We find that type of dog. We don't really recommend rescue for a service dog due to genetics and health background. You really want to know all of those things because this is an investment for your health and your future independence. And so if you just I'm not saying rescue's bad at all. I've worked with a lot of people who have a service dog worked out, they have a rescue. But when you're spending like something that's an investment and you're going to go into it, maybe get to the 2-year mark, find out your dog can't work, that's rough. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of money to put into something that you could find out at an early age won't work. We do temperament testing of litters for people to find the one that best fits them. Sorry. Someone did ask if we do stuff from like the first day they get a dog. Yes, we do.
we actually work with people before they get a dog to make sure they're getting a dog that matches their lifestyle, their energy.
Set up their house,
whether it's a puppy or from a breeder or from a rescue.
And then like I said, so
another service that
picking the dog up, support when the dog arrives home. We do in-home training. That's like an in-home program because some people don't want to let their dogs go to a board and train. And sometimes it's actually better for the dog to just be around them if they work from home or something. We're in the house for few hours a day on certain days of the week. So in-home training it's like a whole program that we have. So yeah, support from transitioning, continued private sessions, assistance with owner training, boarding for existing clients that have the foundations we talked about. Anything related to the AKC, CDC, or trick titles, we could evaluate. In-home programs, virtual sessions no matter where you are. And then we send the recording of the Zoom after. And kind of like a write-up for people. Like she's saying, people learn different ways. Some want demonstrations, some want videos of their private sessions, some want written homework. So that's another thing that varies. Evaluating a public access test that would meet the standards for international. And then public sessions for socializing dogs to work to relax as a puppy safely, and solidifying service dog passports as well are all things that we offer, minus the bite work and aggression stuff. We did that fun stuff. We're focusing on this now.
Something
think
else
that's
that
everything
that
that's like
I think you said you've done
related to
this
that.
too, is something that I do that people wouldn't think of, is I never tell people, if people come to me and they're like, is it time that I need to let my dog go over the Rainbow Bridge, or
Oh, yes.
like if it's like euthanasia, like if it's time to let your dog go, I will never make that decision for you. But I will be there to listen, and you know, and even the day of, whether it's if someone's decided they're gonna, you know, do it at the vet, or if they're gonna do it in their home, I actually am there as support for the people, for my clients, because that can be a really emotional time. And I'm there to support them and remind them of that they've made a healthy decision. And just literally my only job in that moment is to be there to support them. And sometimes that can be the thing that can help people start the grieving process and start to move on. So yeah, it's one that people haven't heard about, that type of kind of
Yeah.
service that much.
And we do follow up with graduates. Yes, people can come back with specific issues or new tasks to be added. If they're with us for an extended board and train, if you can't handle puppies, or this goes into another question of if you also can't do much with your dog, especially raising a puppy is one of the biggest ones we get. We do extended boarding, and then you work with us during. Like I said, we keep it up with videos, written things, everything, however you learn. We come up with a whole individual plan for you. And I mentioned, I'll just circle back in the beginning, if you can't do much exercise wise and you don't have anyone else around to do that, look into dog treadmills or just a treadmill. If you have a pool, things like that, but switch it up. They definitely do need that activity. It's not, so yeah, it's something that's hard because we keep saying you have to fulfill your dog, but if you can't walk or you can't do that and you don't have help, that's when you really want to definitely do a lot of research on the breeds that you're looking at, who might be lower energy that you can easily work with in that case.
And check your community too. Sometimes communities have like groups where like if you can't afford a dog walker, or you know, someone that comes and runs your dog or hikes with your dog, or some communities actually have support groups where, hey, like I have this block of time on these days that I can help someone who needs help with their dog, like being walked or something like that. Like you just kind of check in with your community and see what services they might offer. People are actually surprised. I've had people be like, my little town doesn't have anything like that. And just because they asked, the town actually, like, I don't even know exactly how it worked, but long story short, she actually got help for free, that these people were like, well, yeah, we'll help. So that's kind of cool.
Well, thank you both so much for all this wonderful information. I want to make sure that you're able to share your contact info, and if I'm not sure if you have a website or just social media, but I know that there are a lot of people who are interested to learn more from you guys. So if you could share.
I think Kat's putting it into the chat. I can say it too. Her business name is by far the best business name like I have ever heard. She's Cat, and her business is A Cat Who Trains Dogs. So it's A Cat Who Trains Dogs. You're building a new website, right? You've got it up. Yeah. So she's also on Instagram. Are you on Facebook too?
No. So I put my website in the chat. I put Heather's Instagram, my Instagram, and then my dog has a lot more information on his, especially regarding dysautonomia and the task work that he does for me, with a lot of clips on that. So I put his in there as well.
Yeah.
So those last three are all Instagram.
I'm balanced and harmony dog.
So those three last ones are all Instagrams, and then I put my website URL. But yeah.
And I'm building a website. I've been like happily word of mouth mostly, and how I've gotten my business, but I understand I need to like connect with the times. So
Awesome.
I'm building a website. I have some on Instagram. You can go on there. I'm not on there that much. I need to get a little bit better with that.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
But
Yeah.
you can connect with me there. You can DM me for sure.
All right, well, thank you both so very much. My mailman is arriving, so my dog's going to be barking in the background now. Perfect
Like
time.
you have a ghost. Your door's just opening.
Yeah, if there's any last minute things that you guys wanted to share, otherwise, thank you so much for this time. Yeah, really lovely to learn so much. I feel like I definitely learned a ton that I'm gonna talk to my dog about, and I'm sure everyone feels very similarly. So thank you both.
No,
Yes, thank you.
thank you to everyone for letting us share and for being
Yeah.
here with
And
us.
thank you to everyone who submitted questions. That was really wonderful, and you guys did a great job of going through.
Yeah, they were really thoughtful questions. Like, thank you so much.
Sorry for the information overload, but I hope we got to everything.
Yeah, and we will be putting this recording, and we'll be sharing it, so you can always, check back to see if you did get information overload.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sally.
Everyone,
Thank you, Emily.
bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.